I've worked security for high-level clients, CEOs, models, pop icons. But none of them came close to Mr. X. They called him Mr. X. You'd know his real name the moment I said it. Music mogul, billionaire status, real East Coast royalty. I worked his private security detail on and off for 3 years. Never full-time. No one ever was. His circle changed fast, like seasons. And if you stuck around too long, you either became part of the problem or disappeared into it. Now, people think they know what happens at those celebrity mansion parties. Paparazzi shots, champagne bottles, models on floaties, DJs spinning for hours. That's the fake version. The one they let cameras catch. The real party starts around 2:17 a.m. Always 2:17. Like it was scripted. At that point, phones get locked up. Staff rotate out. My team and I were posted by the entrances, poolside, and guest house back doors. Not to keep people out, but to make damn sure nobody left. Mr. X had this mansion in Bel Air with a pool shaped like an eye. No kidding, an actual eye. When you looked down from the upper floors, it looked like the whole backyard was watching you. I didn't get it at first. Then one night, this guy, some small-time rapper from Atlanta trying to get signed, he makes a mistake. He drinks the wrong bottle, the one that wasn't meant for guests. And 30 minutes later, he's naked, running around the pool screaming that the eye can see inside his chest. Security tried to de-escalate and to calm him down. But Mr. X, he didn't move. He stood near the edge of the pool, sipping his drink, smiling like he was watching live theater. I'll never forget what he said in that moment. He told us, "Let him finish the ritual." Then it happened. The man didn't jump. He dove. Straight into the pool like something down there had called his name. 1 minute passed, then 2. Everyone else stood frozen, but I was already preparing to jump in and pull him out. And right before I moved, he crawled out the far end. His expression was vacant, hollow, like something in him had been scrubbed clean. He didn't say a word, just got dressed, walked out the gate, and vanished into the night. And the next day, that same man signed with one of Mr. X's sub-labels. Just 2 weeks later, he had a viral hit. He changed his name, changed his hair, changed everything. And not once, not ever, did he speak publicly about what happened that night. I watched that same pattern happen 4 times. Different faces, different cities, but always the same outcome. But the darkest night, that was New Year's Eve, 2019. The invitations alone were a spectacle. Gold-trimmed, scented, encrypted. You literally couldn't open it unless your name was on a specific list and you had the right phone. It wasn't just a party. Even before it began, there was a feeling in the air like the building itself was holding its breath. When I arrived, I noticed something was off. All the caterers wore full opera-style masks. Guests had assigned outfits. All black. It was like a ceremony. At around 3 a.m., Mr. X stepped out onto the diving board above that strange, glassy pool. He wore a designer suit like armor, a cigar in one hand, and a woman on each arm. He raised his glass and toasted. To the lost, the found, and the ones who paid the price. It began slowly, a low chant. Not English, Latin maybe, or something older. The voices built up until they filled the backyard like a fog. Then the blindfolds came out. A group of women were lined up. Most were models. Some influencers. One of them looked like a well-known actress from TV, but under the cold, flickering blue lights, I couldn't be sure. They were all instructed to kneel. One by one, they were initiated. We, the security team, were ordered not to turn around. Just stand with our backs to the ceremony, eyes forward. but we heard everything. Later that week, I asked my supervisor what it all meant, but he didn't even look at me. So I decided I was done after that. I filed a notice to leave the details and said I was going corporate. Low-risk VIP logistics, clean buildings, no pools that looked like portals. A week later, I got a letter. Not from Mr. X, from his legal team. They reminded me very clearly about the NDA I had signed. Violating it, they said, would result in 10 years of federal litigation minimum. So I stayed quiet. But here's what I'll say. That pool, it wasn't for swimming. And that house, it didn't have cameras in the rooms because it didn't need them. The rooms were watching themselves, still watching. Ever wonder why some celebrities seem untouchable? It's not fame. It's what's protecting them, or what they've seen. If this gives you chills, like, comment, and share it before the story disappears. Because once you know what really happens behind those velvet ropes, they know you know. And trust me, some secrets don't like being told. There's this A-list actress. I won't say her name, but you'd know her. Sweet in interviews, always talking about energy, crystals, veganism, the usual Hollywood Enlightenment package. But the house she lived in, that place had a temperature, and it was never warm. I was brought in for a 2-week private security contract while her regular team was away. Her estate was deep in the hills. No neighbors, no cell reception. Just cliffs, silence, and that house of mirrors. Literally, every room had walls of reflective glass. She said it was for light work. It took 2 nights for things to get weird. She'd host these meditation circles after midnight, but no one ever meditated. Guests arrived in silence, always in threes, no shoes, no phones, no smiles. They would enter the glass room, a circular chamber in the center of the mansion, and stay there for hours, sometimes until sunrise. I wasn't allowed inside, but I had to guard the entrance. I could hear humming, then sobbing, then scratching, like fingernails on the inside of glass. At 4 a.m., the door would open, and the guests would leave. No one said a word, and she, the actress, looked different every time. More energized, more alert, like she hadn't slept, but had been fed. And one night, one of the guests didn't leave. I didn't see them come out. I reviewed footage from the hallway cams. She went in, but never exited. I checked with the staff. Nothing. I asked my client if she wanted to call the police. She smiled and said the guest had graduated. That night, the glass in the room was foggy on the inside, like someone had pressed their face against it. I saw fingerprints, a forehead, teeth marks. I quit after that week. The NDA was strict and my paycheck was cleared. But sometimes when I'm in a dark room with mirrors, I swear I see someone else's reflection, and it's never mine. In 2017, I was assigned to a European tour with a global pop star. You've definitely heard his name. The guy whose music is all over TikTok now. The type with legions of fans, controversial music videos, and a carefully cultivated image of innocence. He called himself a vessel. His label called him untouchable. So we were scheduled for 6 cities in 2 weeks, starting in Prague. The hotel they booked was old money, the kind of place where the carpets swallow your footsteps and every doorknob weighs as much as a bowling ball. Gold-framed portraits lined the halls, and the chandeliers had real crystal, not the showroom kind. Every employee looked like they'd been working there for centuries, polite, silent, and somehow too still. Our rooms were booked on the 14th floor, but I noticed something strange during check-in. The elevator's panel went from 12 directly to 14. No 13th floor at all, not even a placeholder button. I've seen this kind of superstition before in hotels, especially older ones, but this one felt different. It didn't feel like superstition. It felt like something had been deliberately hidden. When we reached the rooms, the pop star immediately grew tense. He didn't say much, just mentioned a feeling. He said it was hard to breathe in the room, that the shadows didn't fall where they were supposed to. I've heard a lot of celebrities talk about vibes, so I chalked it up to nerves, jet lag, or whatever chemical cocktail he'd brought on tour. But by the second night, something changed. It started around 1:30 a.m., the hour where hotel hallways feel like liminal spaces and time stretches thin. The sound wasn't a scream. Not really. It was deeper than that, like something being torn in half. An animal's death cry, but longer and closer. I checked the hallway cams. Nothing moved. Every feed showed stillness, but one frame stood out. The stairwell door, marked emergency exit only, had opened on its own. No one was nearby. No alarms were triggered. Against protocol, I followed it. I took the stairs down, expecting a prank or some faulty sensor. Floor 14, then 13, which, according to the building, didn't exist, but between the 12th and 14th floors was a gap. A landing that shouldn't be there. Just a single black door. No number, no signage. Just polished black door and a brass knob so cold it bit into my hand. I hesitated, but I opened it. What I stepped into wasn't part of the hotel. At least not anymore. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, dimly lit by flickering gas lamps. Along the walls were mirrors and portraits. Not one or two, but dozens. And every canvas showed a face I recognized. The pop star, his manager, stagehands, other celebrities I'd seen at industry galas. But each face was wrong, twisted in pain, crying blood from the eyes. The paintings looked antique, oil with crackled varnish, but they were unmistakably modern subjects. Some I hadn't seen in years. Others were still alive. For now. Their painted eyes followed me. The mirrors reflected nothing. I turned and left without looking back, closing the black door behind me like it might breathe if I waited too long. The next day, I tried to explain what I'd seen. No one cared. The tour manager said the cameras showed nothing. The front desk smiled politely and changed the subject. The pop star didn't want to talk about it. But I saw the bandages on his fingers that morning. White gauze tied across both hands. He claimed he'd cut them on glass, but there was no broken glass in his suite. Later that night, I stood guard near his dressing room. He passed me on the way to sound check and, without breaking stride, murmured something under his breath. So quiet, I almost missed it. Something about the floor wanting to keep something. I didn't ask what he meant. And after that show, we cut the tour short. The official line was creative exhaustion. But I never worked at European venues again. Hotels hide a lot. But this one erased a floor like it had erased people. And whatever was behind that door, it knew our names. You learn a lot about people when you're paid to stand between them and danger. Some run toward trouble, some invite it in, and some don't even know they're already living with it. I've been a private security specialist for almost 17 years. And in this line of work, names get replaced by initials. NDAs stack higher than body counts. Most people think the job's about sunglasses and suits, standing still while flashbulbs go off. But they have no idea how dark it really gets. They don't know what it's like to guard someone who's famous, and being followed by something that isn't a fan. So one of my first long-term assignments was with a major R&B artist. Mr. X, multi-platinum, world tour, top of the charts for nearly a decade. You know his voice, probably danced to it, hell, you might have cried to it. But none of his songs ever mention the house. And the real story starts inside his LA compound. The first time I saw the place, I knew something was off. Not in a haunted house way. This wasn't some creaky floorboards and cobwebs. Like, it was too clean, too sterile. Like someone was trying to scrub something out of it. A memory, a presence, maybe both. It sat high in the hills of LA, behind black iron gates and silent cameras. By that, we're talking full-time staff, biometric locks, a panic room that could survive a small war. The guy spared no expense, but none of that matters when the thing is not outside. So the first sign came. The door that was locked an hour before was opened. Lights flickering even after we replaced the whole damn panel. A soft beeping from the hallway motion detectors around 3 a.m., even when everyone was asleep. We thought it was software. Glitches. You tell yourself that. You know. And Mr. X started changing. He was becoming paranoid, edgy, and even started sleeping in the guest house. He always kept the TV on at full volume all night, like he was trying to drown something out. I caught him whispering to himself once. Not praying. He was literally arguing. At first, I thought it was some obsessed stalker. Yeah, it happens all the time. You wouldn't believe what fans are capable of. So we did the usual, swept the grounds, scrubbed the feeds, posted guards at every entrance. But this wasn't outside. This was in the walls. I didn't believe it until the alarm went off one night. Not from a window or door, but the pressure plate under his bed. We stormed into his room. No intruder. No broken windows. Just the bed. The covers pulled down like someone had just stood up, and the indentation was still warm. I called in a buddy of mine. An ex-military specializes in digital forensics. The guy doesn't scare easily. He went through days of surveillance footage, hours and hours of nothing. Then he found it. Every night, exactly at 3 a.m., the hallway cam cut out for 1 second. Just a flash. Always the same frame. Same timing. From that, it's clear that it's not a glitch. It feels more like a message. So we set up a plan to know what was happening. We blacked out the house, no lights, no noise. And Mr. X was in the living room. I was in the hall. My partner covered the stairs. Everything was recording. At 2:58 a.m., the air changed. Well, you don't notice it at first, just this absence. No humming from the fridge, no wind. Even the dog outside stopped barking. Then, scraping. Not outside, inside the walls, like claws dragging across wood. Then, and this is where I stopped believing in coincidence forever, came a voice. Clear as glass, whispering from inside the plaster. He called me. That was it. We got Mr. X out by dawn. Emergency evacuation. No luggage, no questions. He never went back. Put the place on the market and took a massive loss just to get rid of it. And weeks later, over drinks in a Miami hotel bar, he finally told me the rest. He said, I didn't build that place. I bought it at auction. Some weird estate sale. Turns out, the last guy who lived there never left. But that wasn't the part that kept me up at night. Later that week, I flew back to my place in Vegas, trying to shake the whole thing off. I'd worked cartel jobs in Juarez that didn't rattle me this bad. But there was something about that voice. That voice inside the wall. I couldn't let it go. I pulled up the property records on my laptop, cross-referenced everything I could find on that compound in Los Angeles, and that's when I found it. The house had been purchased 5 years earlier in a quiet, unlisted sale from an estate executor. No name attached to the seller, just a trust. But with enough digging, I traced it back to the original owner, a screenwriter. Horror films mostly. Obscure stuff. Never made it big. Apparently the guy was weird. No next of kin, no social media. Just vanished one day. Neighbors said they hadn't seen him for weeks before the LAPD finally entered the property on a wellness check. They found the front door wide open. Alarm disabled. The coffee cup still warm in the kitchen. But the house was empty. And the weirdest part? On the mirror in the master bedroom. Same one Mr. X had complained about. Someone had scrawled a message in the condensation. Just 3 words.
He said yes.
The report said it must have been a prank. Maybe someone messing around during the investigation. But that didn't sit right with me. Because Mr. X, he kept saying that he never asked for anything. He said the house made him dream of strange things. He said he'd wake up and feel like someone had been whispering in his ear all night. I called him a week later, just to check in. But his assistant took the call and said Mr. X had booked a 3-month stay in the Alps. No press, no music, just gone. Same as the last guy, and I never heard from him again.